everybody? It's your boy Sir Pat, owner of Custom Made Screen Printing, here with owner, founder of Soul Music Group, Mr. ENG by Suave.
Yes, sir.
himself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And
We in the building. 1424, one thing for show, two things for certain podcast. Here brought to you live. This is our first episode, first season. We started something new. We wanted to try to expand, get out there, really put some businesses out there on the forefront, highlight what we do, come together as a collective. We'll be bringing different guests in. And we'll also be having podcasts with just ourselves to discuss different topics, just tap into the minds of each other, people around the city, our own minds, challenge each other, tough questions, games, all of it. So, bear with us as this is our first episode, and we're trying to work out the kinks and everything. But today, we have with us.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
Oh, man, you gonna make me do it like that, huh? All right, I got you. Man, it's your boy, Real Cooper, representing that bragging rights camp you did. It ain't bragging if you can back it up. I got my little special host with me, you know what I'm saying? BRK Nova, 9-week old, So, I'm in the dog breeding business. I deal with exotic bullies, American bullies, whichever one you want to call it. It's a special breed to me, I like to see my dogs very short, compact, muscled up, low to the ground. I like that aggressive look, but I still want them to be a companion type dog. So, that's what I'm dealing with.
For sure. So tell us a little bit about your business, man. Give us some of your details, man. What made you start breeding dogs in the first place?
For sure, man. So it depends. Do you want the long story or the short story?
Give us a long story.
Long story.
Yeah, give us a long story.
All right, so we'll take it back, man. Let's say around about 2018, I got in contact with little baby getting hit. I got to get rid of her. Anyways, so back in 2018, man, I've always been involved with music, right? So in 2018, when Nipsey Hussle kind of did his whole victory lap promotion and everything like that, I ran across his Breakfast Club interview. So when I ran across his Breakfast Club interview, he was real key in talking about building a business, building a brand, making your money work for you and things like that. I've always grown up to be taught like just having the savings is really all you need. Like saving money is good, that's it.
Gotcha.
They never really taught me or told me about what you do with it once you save. So when I started listening to him and just hearing what he had to talk about, I was like, I feel like I would like his music, right? So I went and listened to Victory Lap. Victory Lap put me on a whole different mindset. I give a lot of credit to Nipsey Hussle for this because it taught me to really be interested in being an entrepreneur. It really put me in the mindset of wanting to do something with my money and build something that would have my name attached to it, right? So I'm in the military. I spent, at this point in time, 6 years active duty. I was living in Japan, right? So I got orders to move back to the city. Born and raised in Shreveport, Louisiana. I got stationed over in Bossier. So I got orders to come back home, and I told myself if I ever got the opportunity to come home, I would make sure to build something that I could, attach my name to and let it grow, right? So the orders dropped. I'm coming back home. I done saved this money because I've been there for 2 years in Japan. I have no idea what to do with the money. No idea, no nothing. I thought me, working a bunch of different jobs to make 6 and 7 streams of income was what I wanted to do, but I know that's not what I need to do, so what am I gonna do with this money, right? So growing up, my dad has always been in my life. Now, he was a truck driver for 30 years, so he was gone away from the house a lot, but he was there. I knew who he was, right? But we didn't never really have that father-son relationship. Mm-hmm. So when I came home, he had been dealing with dogs 9 years prior to that. But his finances wasn't aligning with the vision and things like that, so he would have the pieces, but he might not have the money. He might have the money, but he might not have the pieces. Mm-hmm. It was never like really where they gel together, right?
Definitely.
So when I came home with a savings, and I was looking to invest in something, why not invest with somebody that you know, that you can build with, you can grind with, and don't mind having a conversation with? So the biggest thing that I really cared about was building a relationship with my dad. Like I said, we didn't have that father-son relationship. So since we didn't have that father-son relationship, I felt like this would have gave us opportunity to have that. And it did. So I've been dealing with these dogs for about 3 years now. I had my first breeding the 3rd year of the business. So technically I've been really doing it for a year, like the last year. And when I say it has created an opportunity for me and my father to really have a relationship, it really has done that. Like, the Lord has blessed us to have a conversation and communication that has opened doors for a lot of things. We talk about family, life. I'm a father now, so we talk about that. It just really opened up that door that I was hoping that it would, and it started with the dogs. So then once I started really getting involved with the dogs and started learning a lot about it, I started realizing that I really, really like this. So even if it wasn't for the relationship that it built, I still would probably be doing it.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? So it really has just been something that just really has taken my interest in seeing how far you can go with it and seeing what you can build with it. I can take it as far as saying that the dogs has really put me in a position to where I've met y'all. Like, if it wasn't for me dealing with the dogs and wanting to do a Christmas sweater that I did in 2020, when I came to Custom Made Printing Forward, I would have never met, you know what I'm saying, your brother. Well, I don't know if you was gonna tell him that's your brother, but I would have never met him at the Wine and Cheese, you know, and stuff like that. So I don't want to go on a
that
tangent.
boss there together. Still
Exactly, you know what I'm saying. So, and he worked right across the street. Like, I've done hunked the horn at him riding to work. You know what I'm saying. So I don't want to go too far in that, but
smart world.
But I got into the dogs, you know, simply put, I got into the dogs to build a relationship with my father and do something with my money that I felt like would bring it back and not just be saving it. So, long story short, that's what it created for me: a relationship with my dad and a stream of income.
Dope. So, and then, so tell me again, how long you said you've been doing it?
I've been dealing with the dogs for roughly 3 years.
Gotcha.
I would say officially, in my opinion, I've been dealing with dogs for a year because that was taking the knowledge that I had learned and actually applying it.
Gotcha. Okay. So, so I know you said, you know, it helped build a relationship with your father. You actually were into it, apart from that. So what would you say your goal or your purpose, you know, overall in it? Like, what's gonna be like your long-term goal as far as Bragging Rights Camp?
Right. So a short-term goal, I like to put it as short-term and long-term. So short-term goal, I really just want to be able to create companion-style dogs that'll show quality.
Gotcha.
That's kind of like my short-term goal. Now, that's going to extend long-term, obviously, because I'm building. But right now, my goal is to take 2 beautiful dogs, to make it simple, and create an even more beautiful dog.
Okay.
Right? Long-term, I would like to be able to go into the show ring. A lot of people don't know that when you're dealing with dogs, they actually have shows for these dogs.
That's when they bring the dogs together and they prop the chin up in the tail.
And
make them stand up, right?
So
like
we call it stacking, right?
Stacking.
And it's basically when you make sure the complete, like, you give the audience and the judge an opportunity to see the complete overall of the dog. I mean, I'm talking about from the nose, from the tip of the nose to the tip of the tail.
So how many question? Like, if I can interrupt.
Go ahead.
So, because I always wanted to know this for real, like, what are they judging on? I mean, I know they judging on like the posture and stuff, but like I need to know like exactly what I be looking at, because I be looking like all the dogs fire.
Right. So when you think about like, okay, so you think about how a dog is structured, right? Or you think about the anatomy. Same way you have anatomy, they have their own anatomy, right? You have to look at how the feet are postured, how tight the feet are, how tall they are, how short they are. What's the ratio between their height to the length of their back? They check the bite to make sure that they have a scissor bite, and it's like now it all depends on what breed you're talking about. Like, different breeds have different things that they accept and they don't accept.
Of course.
But they have a standard, and they look at that dog and see what that dog has or don't have compared to that standard. And the standards, like I said, it's a variety of, like, the breed that I deal with is a mixture of French Bulldog, English Bulldogs, and what is known as the American Bully. They merge all 3 of those together and made something. So you kind of have to look at a lot of different information when you're looking at the breed that I'm looking at. But simply put, they have a standard for a dog, and they check that dog's comparison to that standard. And the one that's closest to the dog, because no dog is perfect, but the one that's closest to that standard is considered to be the winner. For that day.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
So long term goal is really just to be able to go into the show ring and compete with my dog against the standard and my peers.
Gotcha.
That's my long term goal. I want to be able to go in. I want to be able to compete, but of course I want to win.
Most definitely.
You know what I'm saying? Like, competing is not enough. I do want to be able to go in and win best overall in my class.
Okay.
So not to really backtrack, but something I really like about your story, and y'all tell me how y'all feel about this. If y'all seeing the same thing, I feel like today. Well, okay, about your story, it's like I like how it wasn't like you was in a quick hustle mindset, and like, oh, let me take dogs, let me go get this money, let me do what I gotta do. Instead, you found purpose in a true why,
Right.
that relationship with your father. And I feel like we're in a time today where people are like overstressing themselves and trying to force themselves into a lane that they have no passion about.
Right.
Because there's no true why there. They can't find purpose in it because they started it with no purpose.
Right.
Quick hustle. Is that something that y'all think we seeing today? Like, and why there's such of a let's say
In search of a quick flip.
yeah, it's such of a quick flip, but there's so much going on of like stress and tension and people being, I'm not gonna say this is the only source of depression, but when it comes to success and what we define as success, people are getting down about it. And plus the age cap that we're trying to put on it, we kind of talked about this the other day or yesterday, I think. People trying to put an age cap on it.
Right.
You got to be rich by 25. You start trying to pick stuff. You don't become successful at it quick enough. You have no passion
So now
behind
you
it because you
switch.
have no why. But your story, a relationship with my father, this is something that'll take us there. And then now you're finding purpose and passion within it that's going to push your business to another level. Is that it? What do y'all think about that concept?
Pat, if you don't mind, I'm gonna go first.
Go
right?
ahead, go ahead.
So I'm gonna correct you. I definitely got into it for the money first. Not even gonna lie. A lot of people that deal with dogs might lie and try to tell you that they not chasing the money, but I'm chasing the money. But I'm gonna tell you what's really funny about that though. By me chasing the money and not getting it as fast as I thought I would, actually created the passion for the dog.
Create a room. Okay.
It made
Had
the
that
room
room.
for me to actually have the passion because I'm the type of person where like when I invest myself into something, I go all in. Like I'm not gonna half step. I try my best not to half step. So when you start talking about me putting my money in it, I'm definitely gonna kill. Of course I want to see my, saying a return on the investment and things like that. But once I realized that the money doesn't come as fast, because that's a perception that a lot of people have. There's
Money come fast.
that
and
it's
a lot
there,
of stuff they do.
and I can't really blame them for them having that thought process because I was one of them. You think the money's gonna come fast. You think that if you go to this big name or go to that big name, it's gonna come. That's just like recording artists. Like I'm gonna go to this producer and I'm gonna get hot. Drake gonna be on my song. I'm gonna get hot. Like you have that thought process sometimes. So I'd be lying if I said I didn't come in with a hustle mindset. Like man, I'm gonna put 2 in, I'm gonna get 4 back real quick. But I realized it didn't come that fast. So when I realized it didn't come this fast, it's like you either gonna make the decision to leave this alone and actually find something you care about, or create a passion for it. I was able to actually create a passion for it because I did like it. There was a small part of me, because I've had dogs before, so there was a small part of me that liked dogs. There was a small part of me that wanted to have dogs. Now, if you would have told me I would have had 12 dogs at the house at one time, I would have never believed you. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna tell that lie like I didn't chase the money first. I did, but when it didn't come, I didn't give up. I just switched my mindset. It was like, okay, create a passion for it and let that money come when it's supposed to, which was something that I learned from Nipsey Hussle again. Like, you got to have faith in what you're doing. You got to be respectful to what you're doing.
Yeah.
Put your time and effort into that, and the money will come. So I had to, apply the things that I had been learning for so long. So it took about 2 years for me to really, really fine tune it and understand. Like, okay, the money gonna come, the attention's gonna come. You just keep doing what you're supposed to be doing. So, now to answer your second question, of course we live in a world where everybody kind of has that quick hustler's mindset because everything is so instant gratification now. That's the mindset behind everything, like social media, technology mainly. I say that more. Technology has it to where you feel like everything is supposed to be instant gratification. You know what I'm saying? They don't really see the beauty in the grind. They don't really see it. So I do feel like we are living in a time like that. I guess I can say I understand why we're in a time like that, but it becomes that person's own individual mindset to really want to be
Step out of that.
And have the passion for what they're doing.
Yep.
I feel like, so it wasn't backtracking, by the way, because you actually set us up right into moving forward. So
Yeah.
it really took us up. So I'm gonna answer that and then I'm gonna follow up because it's funny. I like the honesty because I started doing what I was doing for the money too. Real talk. I just was like, I'm tired of doing what I'm doing. I want to work for myself. I'm trying to get the money.
Yeah.
And then but it's. I think the difference in what you were saying as far as like the world, how everybody want to get stuff so fast, it's because of technology, because we can see and we can compare, and it sets us at that boundary. Even like growing up, I was always taught that I had to growing up, just you got to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
You got to go to college. You got to go to college.
Yep.
You want to have this by you 24. You want to have a house, a job, be married, have 3 kids.
Like everybody gonna live the same life.
Like everybody gonna live the same life. You know what I'm saying? And that now that I'm older, I realize that what you said, it messed with me mentally. And I'm not gonna say I was hypnotized, but it being set to that standard at such a young age, it messed with you later because it creates stress that you don't really know is there. Like, you know what I'm saying? It just, looking back, I think back and be like, man, I just was in school doing this just so that I can make everybody around me meet their expectations.
And say that you was in school.
Say that I was in school and say that, I'm supposed to be going to be a doctor. That's what I'm going to school for. And when I got there, I used to be like, I ain't trying to do this.
Now did both of y'all attend college?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like straight out of high school?
Straight out of high school.
I did.
You know what I'm saying? And see, I go back now and I ain't gonna lie, like, a very small percentage of me said I didn't want to go to college, but I wanted to go, but it was for sports.
Yeah.
So we were both athletes. You know what I'm saying? You was an athlete. We played ball together. We played ball together. But I really wanted to. I wanted to go play college ball. I wanted to go pro. Even though I was in high school as a senior, I realistically knew I was like, man, I probably won't go pro. I said, but you never know. There's a chance. You might just pop up and you might just
never know.
You never know. You know what I'm saying? So there's always a chance. But when I got to school, man, it was this one dude. I went to McNeese in Lake Charles, and so I was playing football. It was 2010. It was the fall season 2010, and it was a dude. His name Big Mike. And we was out there. Big Mike he told me, he said, man, I'm ready to go home. And I looked at, I said, man, why you ready to go so bad, man? What's going on? I said, man, you signed up to be out here. Why you even out here? And he was like, man, just because I'm out here don't mean I want to do this. Right. I said, well, ain't you on scholarship, man? I'm out here. I ain't even getting paid. Yeah. I'm not getting paid. I was like, I'm out here because I'm trying to get it how I get it. You out here on the scholarship. He said, man, I ain't no dummy. He said, I'm just out here, because they pay for my school. He said, but man, when it's over with, I ain't trying to do this. He said, think about this, man. I don't want to get up every day. He said, we can't go nowhere. We can't do nothing. You know what I'm saying? He was like, they always checking on us.
Like a rigid routine.
Yeah, and he was like, it's a day-to-day routine that you don't really want. And he was, it was like we was having parties and stuff, and because he had to be responsible, at the time, he had to leave, and you couldn't do this, you couldn't go out. And I thought about that, and that's when I started comparing my time and what I was doing. I was like, well, he right. Mm-hmm. I was like, but I ain't getting paid. So that's when the next year I was like, I don't think I'm gonna follow up. You know what I'm saying? But backtracking, I feel like, just like you said, technology and stuff got a major effect on how people look at that type of stuff. And so my mindset always going in was I was meeting other people's expectations, not my own. It wasn't until maybe like 5 to 7-ish years ago that I actually started thinking. I feel like I started thinking for myself. Right. And I felt like I started maturing, and it was just, other factors. Wanting to work for myself just like you did, wanting the money, wanting something better, you know what I'm saying? And in that, I found purpose. Right. You know what I'm saying? Just wanting different and seeing the potential, seeing the long term. And I don't know, I can't really speak on what it was that actually made my mindset start thinking long term, and I think it just was with age and maturity. Just, you know what I'm saying, almost 30, and now I just told my brother yesterday or the day before that I don't look at things. A year go by fast. A year for me is like a month and a half. Like I be looking at the decade. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm trying to see what's in the next 10 years that we're gonna accomplish, and so I think that is big. And to answer your question, Ro, I think that is big. It affects people mentally. It affects young people a lot. You know what I'm saying? And it's bad because now all we want to do is get money fast because we on the internet and we can see other people out here, that look like they getting money fast, and some people might really be. You know what I'm saying? We don't know, but you know, nowadays you can see what you couldn't see a long time ago.
But see,
you know what I'm saying?
the one thing that people have to realize too is that there's beauty in the struggle.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to like technology, the way it's been set up is they only show you the end result. They don't show you what the beginning was like and what the path was for them to get where they were going. They only show you what it kind of ended up like. Unless you really follow somebody's story, you know what I'm saying, to a T, that's really the only way you're gonna know. So a lot of people, it's like you being taught that that's how it's gonna be. Like I saw you last year, you was, you know, down and out. I see you this year, you balling. Like, it's gonna take me a year to do it. I know it's gonna take me a year to do it, but they don't see the grind that you put in before that year. They don't see what you was doing that whole year. You know what I'm saying? Like
What you spent,
what you had to do with it and stuff like that.
Profits,
They just see the end result.
the production,
You know
the
what I'm
end
saying?
result.
So I think entrepreneurs, content creators, I think we should put more emphasis on actually showing the beginning, middle, and end of the process.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? That goes to a conversation we've had before. I don't know if we're gonna touch on it today, but you know, you have to give yourself room to grow.
Yeah,
You have
let me intervene right here. So we talked about this.
Yeah.
So here go the question again for the people, right? So, you and I do want to throw this in the the last time we said you distinguished it into like different categories. You said that you have a perfectionist, and you got OCD, and what else was it? Can you remember?
Let's see, perfectionist, OCD.
It was something else.
Only other thing I remember talking about was procrastinators. It's the only thing I talking about.
So when I think about it, we'll get back to that.
Okay.
But the question that you brought to the table, well, to me actually, but I'm gonna reverse it and ask you. So, can a perfectionist be a procrastinator?
It's a loaded question, so it's a yes or a no, and it depends on what view you're looking at.
Okay.
So for me, no, I don't think that a perfectionist can be a procrastinator, because if you are a perfectionist, you're trying to get it done.
Yeah.
The moment you stop getting it done, you become a procrastinator. You stop. I don't care if you set out to do A, B, and C, or whatever it is that you're trying to do.
Yeah.
If you're not working on A, B, or C, at some point in time, you are procrastinating. You cannot be both. Like, I just don't see it.
Now, I don't want to cut you off, but we just had a live example of the exact opposite.
Okay, bring it to me.
We're supposed to start at what time?
10?
What time is it now?
I have no idea.
Man, almost 2 o'clock.
It's almost 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
We're such perfectionists that we tried to,
We supposed to be done at 12:30, bro.
If you change the perspective up, it's like what you're saying is correct, because once you stop doing what you need to do, at that point you're procrastinating. And I mean, but that's just only if you define procrastinating as just that. We weren't really procrastinating, but it could kind of almost come off that way time-wise, because we're so perfect and trying to get things so perfect. You start to overthink. You start to do. We could have been started. We could have been just. We could have just set the cameras up, turned the phone on, and went.
Now, see what you said. I'm gonna raise you one more. Were you actively working on what you were doing the whole time?
I was. That's why I said it's perspective.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you still are you are a perfectionist. You did not become a procrastinator, because every time you move, even though you started late, you were still working on what you were trying to do.
I see what more so what
So
you're
you
trying
still
to
being the perfectionist that you are. You didn't become a procrastinator because you kept working on the same task.
But let me intervene. But see, we technically procrastinated because we've been supposed to do this all week. Okay. I mean, you get what I'm saying? And so that's why I told you earlier, it depends on it solely depends on perspective. Like both of y'all said
anything.
that. Both of y'all said that. But you know, I mean, once you set a deadline for something, you become a procrastinator when the time is ticking and you're trying to squeeze in a bunch of stuff to prevent from being late. That's the, you know what I'm saying? Because the purpose of it is we got a deadline. This is to do. So if you say I'm finna do this by this date, and you said as long as you reading and writing and looking it up, like you
actively working on it.
That's actively working. But somebody that's not gonna do anything at all, because I think last time you said that's just somebody just talking and not going. They just talking and ain't gonna do nothing. Somebody that's just talking with no action, they can do the same thing. They can read, they can look,
They're just
But
procrastinating.
if they say I want a house by next year and then don't do it, 3 years go by and they ain't did it yet, but they still researching and looking on their phone every day. I mean, is that procrastinating? Come on, man. Exactly. They not
So you
procrastinating. They beyond BSing because, I mean, you said a year. It's 5 years later.
So in that process right there, are they perfectionists?
I don't think they're perfectionists because there's no
That's what I'm
physical.
saying.
There's
So
no physical action.
That's
There's
what I'm
no
saying.
physical put
So
towards
you
it.
cannot be a perfectionist. and
I'm not gonna say
procrastinate.
physical step. Let me not say physical. I'm gonna say a major step. You got small steps and then you got major steps. And I think like small steps to getting stuff done is just doing the research. You know what I'm saying? Doing things that you don't necessarily have the funds for at the time. Doing things that you might not necessarily have the space for at the time. Just researching and reading. You know what I'm saying? And I think that taking your first major step, like buying equipment for something or getting your LLC or stuff like that, are big steps towards your overall goal. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I mean, if you say, man, I'm gonna build a house by the end of the year, I'm gonna start building the house in December, and it's January. December 1st, I'm gonna start building the house. It's January 1st.
Okay.
When December 1st comes, the first step to starting to build, and again, it's about perspective, because we're gonna go deep. Because if I say the first step is to starting to build a house, is laying the foundation, your concrete or whatever it is, or buying your land. Like, you could look at it like that, but you're gonna probably look at it and say, well, shit, on December 1st, I'm over here with my engineer, and we writing up the plan. Because if you just not getting to the engineer on December 1st, I feel like you procrastinating. Because you had all year to be getting with your engineer.
So you weren't perfecting the process. You were procrastinating. You wasn't both.
So, but one thing I say you got to take into consideration too is what I'm thinking, and why I think perfectionists can be procrastinators. Sometimes perfectionists will overthink themselves into procrastination. So you don't get started because you're steady trying to think and you're changing your thoughts instead of going with your move and taking the steps.
That was the point that Pat had brought up.
Yeah.
And like I told him, I was like, I can understand that, and I get what you were saying. But if you're not taking steps, you are procrastinating.
Right.
You are not a perfectionist. You are procrastinating.
But what defines taking steps? Because if somebody just researching on your phone is I don't consider that taking steps.
That's
that
not
ain't
true.
taking no steps.
That's not true.
People can post. I mean, you be on Instagram I don't consider that.
That's not true. Because there's been multiple and plenty of times where it's 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm on my phone. Researching pedigrees for dogs. I have no intention of breeding to that dog, but I'm studying how they did that to make that dog look like that. Like what bloodlines click, what features were they going for?
So what would define your action into getting what you doing?
Because I applied that to my breed.
So pretty much, for what I'm getting is, as long as you say I'm doing something. You doing something. You're not procrastinating. I mean, that's pretty much what you're saying.
Not saying it, but action. Like I took what I was looking at. I took what I was looking at to see how it was done. I applied it to what I was doing and picking the studs that I was doing.
Where's the limit? Okay, well, the question is, there has to be a limit. There has to be a limit of when a timeline, like a date of what I told you, which would define procrastination. It has to be, because somebody can just, every single time you ask them for 10 years, just say, yeah, I'm working on it.
But see, I think that's
gonna
be. See that. Now that's a.
But that's what I'm saying. How can you define what they're doing if they telling you I'm researching, I'm reading, and they actually doing it every day? I mean, what you saying is valid.
Okay.
If they just say every day I'm in my book and I'm reading, I'm writing, but 20, 30, 40 years go by and they ain't did it. I mean, where's the cap?
Well, first of all,
there's got to be a cap.
Well, what is it that they doing?
If we say, well, okay, I don't know, build a house.
Okay,
we're gonna build a house. I mean, that's the best thing I can
topic.
Hold on, let's find out what they doing. Okay.
Build a house. They're gonna build a house. You say, man, look, man, in 2 years, I want to have a house built. I'm gonna build me a house.
Okay.
A person, what you saying is, as long as a person saying, I'm researching on what I want, I'm looking at this, I'm finding flooring, I'm finding all that, you just looking at it, but you ain't buying nothing. You ain't got no land, you don't know where you gonna stay, you ain't got none of that, but you just researching. Every time somebody asks you, what you doing on, you still working on it? Yeah, I'm still working on it. I mean,
but they are researchers saying, so they're actively working on what they said they were gonna do.
But when does it define?
They
can actively work on it for 30 years.
I think that's going to be case by case. I think that's going to be case by case. Well, and the reason I say that though is because, I mean, of course, it's already implied and it's already understood. If somebody's saying I'm finna build a house and they writing their blueprint for 30 years, at that point, you ain't no perfectionist, you ain't no procrastinator, you just lazy.
You ain't
doing that.
You ain't doing it. Okay.
And so, and that's what he's getting at is where is that line? But that's why I say it's person to person because, of course, 30 years out the picture, right? But for some people, it might be 2 years. Some people, it might be 5 years. Some people, it might be 10 years, a 10-year plan. People have different ranges where they set their goals within those ranges. And so their planning phase may be 2 years. And they want to make sure they got everything together. And at that point, if they get past that 2-year mark and they haven't done what they needed to do research-wise or whatever they planned on, steps they plan on taking in that phase, and that's at that point, then it's like, I am procrastinating. I'm bullshit.
I'm going to be real. I don't agree. I'm going to tell you why. There has to be steps of what we said earlier, growth. If you can just say if you like what you said that as long as they doing this, what you said, the planning phase could be 2 years. You don't know that your planning phase is going to be 2 years though, unless you what? You define that. You put that cap
That's just
on
the
it.
goal.
You say, but that's the thing. You have to say my planning phase is going to be 2 years. If you don't, then hell, it's an unlimited amount of time that can be your planning phase.
I'm not saying that they're procrastinated because they don't meet deadlines.
Well, you more so technically speaking, whereas I think we're also speaking more so like common sensitivity.
Because the definition of procrastinator.
Because of course, right? We do need to do that. We should put it up on the screen.
Yeah. Let me see.
But yeah, I think you're so.
Jay, can you put it up on the screen for us?
I think you're so much more technically speaking, right? Because you are technically right. Like you can be in a planning phase forever, right? That's a but that's a technicality. Realistically, you're not gonna be in a planning phase that long. You're gonna set a goal, and where my point comes in at is more so like you're right. Somebody can. It's the difference between just saying I'm in a planning phase and being in your planning phase.
But what defines that?
What you're doing is what defines that. Your action defines that.
I can't.
I would have to say
I don't think y'all get what I'm saying. I don't think you get what I'm saying. A cap defines that. You can action the same thing for so long and it not yield any result.
Well,
you can caption the same thing for so long and not yield any type of result. Procrastinate. Okay, so procrastinate.
Delay or postpone an action. Procrastinate. Verb. Delay or postpone an action. Put off doing something. It won't be this price for long, so don't procrastinate.
Okay.
So it's really just putting off.
So
it's just putting something off.
So they ain't taking no action.
It's just putting something off. Yeah, exactly. They're not taking any action. But what are you defining as action? You say action can be, I'm just looking at it on my phone, man. I'm just, I'm researching. I'm every night I get up and I do that. But when do you decide to put forth another action, another step forward? I mean, you have to have a cap and a time. It don't necessarily have to be just a time frame, but you got to understand that there are steps of growth. You have to keep stepping up in order to define what is, because you're stepping towards what? A result. And so you have to have a result in a designated time frame in order to define procrastinating, because you have to have a schedule. If you don't have a schedule or some sort of logist into what you're doing it, then you can just say I'm doing for an unlimited amount of time, and nobody can ever question whether you're actually looking towards something or not. Nobody
that's
can
why
ever
I say
question
that's the difference of what we're saying, you're saying, because you're technically speaking. Of course, you can just say, right, and nobody's gonna check. Oh, let me actually see if you plan it. But where I see steps at, right. It's kind of like you're kind of saying, like, you could say I'm in a planning phase as if planning phase is one action. Like once you started it, it should just be done. And then what's the next step? No, planning consists of, now you got the baby steps within your planning.
I'm speaking for first person and third person, from the outside looking in and for yourself. Even if you saying I'm gonna do this for myself, nobody watching you but you, and you can put it off for however long you want to. If you just keep for 20, 30 years,
saying the
keep
same
putting it
thing.
off. You know what I'm saying? If you put
saying
it
the
off,
same
Now we're not saying they put
Not
it
the
off.
exact
They
same thing,
are.
yeah.
They're doing something involving it.
Exactly. I get what you're saying.
No,
but you can always define doing something as anything, which
that's it. That go back to technically speaking.
that's what I'm saying. I'm technically speaking.
Exactly.
I
And
can't.
that's why I said,
I don't feel like there's room for I don't. What's a good word?
There's too many variables in life, though. So that's the only thing about that is when you get to a place where you start technically speaking. Like now, at that point, yeah, we drawing lines, and that's something that's gonna be more so for yourself, you know. But like, it's so many variables in life. You can technically speak about anything, but based on somebody's life, based on somebody's mindset, based on what they have going on, their funds. But you're right, it has to have a cap, and that's why I say we're saying the same thing. But you can't deny the fact that if I say I'm in a planning phase for 2 years, if a month of it is researching on my phone, and then the next step is like, oh, this research took me to this research, and then this research took me to this research, and now I was able to build this blueprint. All of it's research, and I took steps. Mm-hmm. At that point, what do you call that now?
But what if you end up planning and it's in 30 years done went by and?
But that's why I said that's out the picture because that's
you can't say.
I'm not saying out the picture. I started off with saying I'm not even talking about 30 years because at that point I've been defined. Mm-hmm. But when I first started talking that. If you talking about somebody 30 years, say I'm just playing, at that point they being lazy. They ain't even in this perfectionist or procrastination.
That contradicts what you're saying though. That contradicts what you're saying because at 30 years they might feel like they still not in that position.
Well, hold on.
You get what I'm saying?
I think we might be getting away from the original topic.
We are a little bit.
I think we might be getting away from the original topic. The original topic was can a perfectionist be a procrastinator? Mm-hmm. Let's look at the definition.
And that's where the cap is at. That's where I'm saying. When you are, we can't.
I agree that they can.
You have to take. I mean, I agree the same way.
I agree they can, but it's just
where I'm pointing in at is what you were saying when you were like technically speaking. The perfectionist part is what makes it technically speaking. You're a perfectionist. So
you want every detail to
be perfect. Right. Mm-hmm. Exactly. You want every single thing to be going the right way. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And a person will put off getting every single thing the right way because what people don't realize is you might say you want this to look like this, and people are like all it is, this and that, but it's not. It comes into a lot. You got a view, you got this, you got that, and that goes into all the variables that you spoke about. You see what I'm saying? But you know, if a perfectionist is going to get something done in a time frame, you know. To prevent delay, you know what I'm saying, you have to give yourself room to grow, which means that you can't procrastinate even on the little stuff. Excuse me, you know, even on the little stuff. Like you don't want to.
So can we get the definition of perfectionist?
Perfectionist, noun, a person who refuses to accept any standard short of perfection.
So they want everything done right. We agree with that.
Mm-hmm. And I see what he tied in technically speaking with that. That does make sense. For me, when I think of technically speaking, though, I see where it can be an issue. Because it can be too broad sometimes. You know what I'm saying? So you technically speaking, you're technically right that somebody can say they're in a planning phase for 30 years. Okay. But obviously at that point, like I can't come check it like I'm not nobody's coming to question you, check what you at 30 years. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Say so you plan on building up
in time. So now we're tying in
right.
Well, you kind of have to if you're talking about a perfectionist.
Well, procrastination, not really
procrastination.
Both. Really both. So y'all premise is that a perfectionist can be a procrastinator because they can take so long trying to get everything right.
Mm-hmm. I think overthinking can take you there.
Okay.
For a perfectionist.
Okay. See, now I think I see where the disconnect is here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when you look at that definition and you think about what we're talking about, a perfectionist is who you are. Like you are a perfectionist.
Now
that is your that
was the very first
there's your characteristic. That's who you are as a human being, mm-hmm. right? Like for example, there's certain stuff that I have to do before I leave the house. Mm-hmm. Right? I gotta make my bed before I leave the house. If I leave and I don't do it, it's gonna mess with me. Like I'm gonna think about it. I'm gonna be riding somewhere and I'm like, I did not make my bed. And I'm gonna be figuring I really need to go back home. Like it might mess up my whole day and make you know what I'm saying, make the
now
bed.
We talked about that because you also said that was OCD. And I agree more so that it was OCD, not perfectionist.
I think that they slightly go hand in hand.
And they do go hand in hand, but the reason I said that is because again, and I mean I know I keep backing up this point about a deadline, but you know, if you don't make your bed up, it's gonna bother you, but mm-hmm. It's not gonna. It doesn't. There's no deadline for making your bed.
But what I'm saying what I'm saying is that now I understand what y'all are saying, and maybe this can break down. Maybe this will break down what I'm saying. So, a perfectionist, that's your characteristic. That's who you are as a person. Mm-hmm. So if you trying to get something, if you trying to like get something so perfect that it delays you 30 years, like you have more like procrastinating traits like going on within yourself, right? Mm-hmm. Now, what I was talking about is two separate things. I'm talking about it from the aspect of like a specific situation. Mm-hmm. If you said you was gonna do this, you stop being yourself and start being a procrastinator. Gotcha. So you flip between, you know what I'm saying, the two, right? Because you asked me a question last time. You said, can you go from being perfect to imperfect and then back to perfect? And I said yes.
You
and
can't.
then you said, hold on.
I get it, man.
And you said no. But that's when we realized what we were trying to say. I was talking about a perfectionist and a procrastinator in that moment. Yeah. You were talking about as that person and what they're doing and what they're doing overall. So I think that's what disconnect. So if we're going off what you're saying in the situation, then yes, you're right. A perfectionist can be a procrastinator.
Exactly.
But from my point, it's like in that moment where you stop doing what you said you was gonna do and put it to the wayside.
And still, of course, you
became procrastinating.
That's exactly.
And so that's what we're saying. It's the and that's what we saying at the same time, because he's just talking about in that segment of time. I'm not perfect no more because I'm BSing. I'm not me. I'm not my perfect self.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm delaying time. I'm oversleeping. I'm being lazy. Let me get it back together. Boom, boom, boom. Get back on schedule. You back a perfectionist.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's what we was talking about over long term, overall in general. You know what I'm saying?
And I mean, it was a slight disconnect. You know what I'm saying? This is one of those things. Like I was thinking of it just in the moment. Y'all were thinking about as it portrays to that person who they are. Like yes, you can procrastinate if you're a perfectionist because sometimes you could want to get stuff done, but you start busting time frames and time limits that you gave yourself because you're trying to get every single detail right. And that would tie into the example where you was talking about us, setting up the podcast.
Yeah.
We were supposed to start at a certain time, but we wanted everything to be as close to perfect as we could so that we can give the people something good to view the first time off. You know what I'm saying? So I get both. I get both points.
For sure.
I definitely get both points.
Man, let me cut you off right there. So we gotta take a quick little break. So we'll be right back. Thank y'all for tuning in. Just give us one moment. Right here on 1424. One thing's for sure, two things for certain. And we'll be back in just a minute.
Hey, that's dope, by the way, before we leave.
Something like All right. Welcome back, everybody. So moving forward, back off the quick break, here with Mr. E&G Baswave himself, and Mr. Bracken Rice Camp.
Yes, sir.
Along with myself, Custom Made Printing. So we were just, before the break, we were just discussing the topic of can a perfectionist be a procrastinator. We came to the result that in the moment, you can be back and forth, but long term, and if you're looking at the overall, then there is no, you can be both.
Right.
Because you have a long-term goal achieved. So we're going to switch topics for a second. Recent news update. A couple weeks ago, they found George Floyd's killer, Derek Chauvin. I think that's
Chauvin.
Chauvin. Whatever.
It doesn't matter. So he went to trial and he was convicted and found guilty on all counts in the murder of George Floyd. And so there was a bit of a celebration with that. And on another note,
I'm glad you used the word celebration too, but go ahead.
Yeah, there was a good celebration on that.
Because I'm going to dissect that one right there, but go ahead.
So bringing in, I was watching the newscast the other day, and they had a discrepancy with one of the jurors, and I'm going to pull it up on my phone. Give me 1 second.
You might put it up on the screen.
Yeah, I got to find the link. I had you send it to me on your phone. But it was an article.
Well, his phone probably on the Wi-Fi, so he probably can just.
Let me see. I think it's still up on yours. Give me a second. Let me see. Give me just a second. So, I'm gonna get that article. Here it is. This is the article, and I'm just going. Matter of fact, I just read it from your phone. So, in this article, it says the jury selection concluded March 23rd after just over 2 weeks of questioning by Judge Peter Cahill and attorneys on both sides. The 15th juror was dismissed before opening statements began March 29th, and the 13th and 14th jurors were told just after closing arguments ended that they were alternates. Chauvin faces charges of second-degree unintentional murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter in George Floyd's killing under police custody, and he was found guilty. Let me see. Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry, y'all. This is the article that I'm trying to find. They got an article. Long story short, let me skip to that. Why we found in that. Anyway, they had a juror and they were questioning the juror because he answered questions on Black Lives Matter. And they asked him like a couple of questions on Black Lives Matter. Was he like affiliated or something like that, and how he felt about it, and he gave like a sort of a neutral response. It wasn't a neutral response. He sort of gave a response that leaned towards Black Lives Matter. So now they're in the process of, I guess, Derek is trying to do like an appeal, and they're trying to dismiss one of the jurors. Now I'm just throwing that out there. That's not the question that's at hand. I'm just throwing that information out there, like as a news update, but it will follow up with the question. So, with that being said, I don't know the updates on that. I don't know what they got going on. I haven't been onto it in the last couple of days, but I will give an update on it in just a moment while y'all giving responses. But the question is, do you think defunding the police is an effective tactic to combat racial injustice?
I've had this discussion. If done effectively, I think it can help. I don't think it's our best answer necessarily. Something about the training has to change. There's no reason, and for the George Floyd situation itself, I use that as the example since that's what we're talking about anyways. There was no reason for him. They had him in the car, right? We got him in the car to go book him, right? Why did you pull him out? So I don't even know why the case was that. To me, that threw me off already, because why is it such a hard question of did he murder him or not? I don't care about none of the tailpipe, all the chemicals, none of that. What they think the force may be. You had him in the car, which was your objective, and you pulled him back out and put him on the ground and decided to put your knee on his neck.
Right.
What about your training doesn't have you disciplined enough to do what you need to do?
Got it. I understand that.
And I think that's going to be the biggest thing. I don't defunding necessarily. I mean, I think there are effective ways of defunding, I guess, and I would assume people are talking about when they say defunding the police. I would assume that they're talking about defunding some of the
Pension.
Yeah, that. But then also like some of.
I pulled up defunding because you did tell me that we needed to look up what the word defunding means, and defund means it is a verb, and it says to prevent from continuing to receive funds.
And that's just
Depends
overall.
on, yeah, that's what it says.
Just
That's
overall.
the definition. So funds, it depends on what you would consider funds, but I mean, I feel like funds would most commonly be monetary. I mean, monetary, but I mean other things like just different equipment and stuff like that, and charity donations. I mean, but all that usually comes in the form of money.
Right.
So I mean, I guess it's safe to kind of assume that we're talking about lowering their income and their funds. I mean, their monetary funds. You can continue.
No, I wouldn't gonna say much after that. I guess I'll probably say I don't think it would be as effective as people are thinking. I think people are just angry and they just defund them, take the money away.
I agree.
Yeah,
and that ain't gonna do nothing but make people quit. Anyway, it's gonna make a lot of them quit.
But I say it can be effective because I know that there are aspects that certain aspects that can be defunded and potentially.
That's crazy. I didn't expect y'all to say what y'all said.
I didn't either.
And potentially placed
They got me with that.
are allocated in aspects that will help overall on the flip side.
So you rather them not take it away? You rather them apply it to better training
Or something that's going to. I think you just defund, then I mean the police, they're still gonna exist, and now
Right.
you defund it, and now they really not gonna care, and now they gonna just keep doing what they doing. So
Right.
it's just, I think there has to be some. I think there has to be some sort of guideline, some sort of guidance as to, all right, what are we defunding and reallocating to?
Right.
and not necessarily just defund.
Just defund it.
Mass
Okay.
media has portrayed this wrong a lot. Like the way they say it, that's not what the topic is when they say that. When they say defund the police, they mean taking away resources from parts that the police shouldn't even be doing.
Exactly.
Instead of making the police go out there and deal with a mental health issue, you send a mental health expert and give them that money.
Gotcha.
Instead of making the police go interact in this situation, somebody who's qualified to do it.
Okay.
That's part of it, but
Gotcha.
there's also other parts of it. But there's so many different defund the police movements, and they all mean so many different things that we can't even zero in on what it is we really need.
Okay.
Exactly.
Now I'm glad he said that because it's gonna tie into what I'm saying. So when I think about defunding the police, I don't think about the police force. I think about more individuals. So for example, when you talk about the George Floyd situation, well, I'm gonna go back a little bit. Okay, first, like I said, celebrate. Depending on what your thought process is and what your stance is on what the situation is. People who are celebrating, I'm not against it. I think that we are celebrating the wrong thing though. Because being found guilty and then what you get sentenced for are two different things.
Right.
So you can be found guilty for it, but your sentence could be a slap on the wrist.
What was his sentence?
They
He
haven't
doesn't
done it
have
I
yet.
one.
think he had.
They haven't
He
done it
got
yet.
that. He
They
did sentence yet?
Yeah,
my
he doesn't have one.
I know.
So a lot of people not really thinking about that. They just hear guilty and think, yep, he going to jail forever. He hasn't been sentenced yet. So he literally could come back into court and he could be like, probation.
That was my problem that day.
Like he could be like probation. So me, I'm sitting there watching. I'm like, why is everybody celebrating? Like he just
And
that's
I
good
guess
that he found.
That must be the issue. Yeah, because he
trial
trying
because of what
that mistrial. So I found the article.
They gonna find a way.
I can't say that.
They gonna. No, I'm saying they gonna find a way. They gonna try to find their way out of it.
Let me read this to you. The claim: Derek Chauvin did not get a fair trial for the killing. This is on USA Today of George Floyd. After weeks of jury selection, arguments, testimony, and 10 hours of jury deliberation, former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin was convicted. Derek D was Derek C. Derek C was convicted of murder in the killing of George Floyd. Floyd's death after Derek's kneel on his neck for nearly 10 minutes last year was a spark that set off nationwide demonstrations against racial injustice. The trial prompted public statements from elected officials, including President Joe Biden, Representative Maxine Waters, ahead of the outcome. So, Students for Trump co-founder Ryan Foreigner believes these contributed to an unfair trial and claimed in a Facebook post. So,
I don't think none of that matters anyway.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
skipping
feel
down.
like that matters.
I'm skipping down.
But they gonna do it anyways, right? But stuff like that don't matter to me. It shouldn't matter because what is this, a science experiment? You're trying to have a controlled group or something,
The jury is supposed to be of your peers. So,
right?
I mean,
You want the people's opinion,
oh, exactly.
and so
So if you have somebody who does stand for a Black Lives Matter movement,
That shouldn't matter.
it's more important for them to be on there,
Right.
Because now you have a different perspective
exactly.
that matters.
You're trying to if you're trying to set it up to where you because I mean,
You got the people that's going to agree with you there.
right, and it's like you telling him that he can't be on the jury as a Black Lives Matter supporter.
But we're talking about a black man that's being killed.
Yeah, right. And you almost basically tell him he can't be human and be on the jury, like,
Right.
because now I have to think
Or you
the
can't
way
have-
you want me
or
to
you can't
think
have your own
to
opinion
judge this
and
guy.
be here.
Right, exactly.
That
And so
makes
you
no
just
sense.
slapping us in the face again, like it in
Yeah.
every aspect and stuff like that just shouldn't matter to me. Like this is not a science experiment. This is a trial. You got a jury because you want the people's opinion
And
to
you
make a
want it to be
decision.
fair.
Right.
And it should be fair. So I feel like them highlighting that should be more of an emphasis of why
Right.
that person should be there.
There's no
Anything
control.
less than that doesn't make sense to me.
Right. You can't take control of that group. This is not a controlled experiment.
Well,
You always gonna have
USA,
that.
my bad. Go
Go
ahead.
ahead, no, you straight.
USA Today, they actually interviewed 3 experts, and all 3 experts agreed that he had a fair trial.
I mean,
So I don't know if that's the final decision or
Right.
what's going on. I'm still looking through it.
You know they're gonna try
I
to
probably
find
should've looked it
everything
up,
though.
but
To
they're gonna nitpick
to try to appeal. I'm pretty sure it's
Most
his
definitely.
side that's trying to appeal and trying to find everything. It's like Trump was doing at the end of his term, trying to find every little thing.
just to see if it's stick. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, back to the original question, man. Do I think? Well, what was the original question? Let's make sure we're hearing it correctly. What was the original question?
Do you
Defund the
think
police.
do you think that defunding the police is an effective tactic to combat racial injustice?
Well, to go against what y'all said, I think it does. I think it would. This is why I say that. I've been a person that listens to a lot of people. I do listen to social media a lot, Instagram, Facebook, and all that stuff right there. I'm not even gonna act like I'm not a millennial. Like, I listen, right? But a lot of times people are saying stuff that is factual if you're willing to do somewhat of the research, right? I once heard David Banner say something that was kind of important, and it kind of stuck with me. He said that certain races of people only respect the loss of finances and the loss of life. If you kill their family members, they gonna start caring. If you start taking away their money, they'll start caring, right? So when I think about defunding the police itself, I don't think about it as the department. I think about, or at least I've heard, like, you know, like our off-script person was talking about, there's different views on what defunding is. The one that I'm more used to hearing about is defunding pensions, right? Like the pension part of the department. If police officers shouldn't go out there with each other and not hold each other accountable. Like, I get sticking by your wingman and all the different stuff, you know, I get that. Sticking by your partners, I get all that stuff. But if somebody's doing something wrong, you're supposed to speak up. And if you're not going to speak up, you should reap the consequences just as much as they do. If you're killing their family members and friends, they're going to start caring. If you start taking away their money, they're going to start caring. When I think about pensions and when I think about defunding the police, I think about the pension portion of it, because that's the one that I'm more used to seeing people debate about what it should affect, right? So if you unjustly kill a man, the pension portion of the department should be affected by it, which means now somebody who let you do that or watched you do that or tried to stand behind you doing that is now affected by it as well, right? So I think defunding the police would actually be a very useful tool, because now I wouldn't like to use the word incentive, but I'm gonna use it in this. You know what I'm saying? You give an incentive for doing the right thing, even though it's your job. You know what I'm saying?
You should be doing it anyway.
You should be doing it anyway. But now it's like, okay, if I don't stop you from doing something that I know is against the law, I'm gonna be affected by it. So if we're talking about defunding,
that's military structure.
If we, man, look, listen, I can't tell you how many times I've been in trouble with somebody else doing something on a shift that I ain't even on. I just got affected by it just because I work here.
Your troop go out there and cut up?
Why he did that? I was at home sleep. How was I supposed to know? Okay, well, you got to come in on the weekend for him. Really? Okay, I tell you what, you ain't gonna do that no more.
No more, yeah.
Because now you're affecting my time with my family. Like, you're not finna do that no more. There was another point that I wanted to touch on, but it doesn't slip my mind now. But I do think defunding would be useful. Now, I don't disagree with y'all saying either. If you're defunding from one portion and putting it towards something else that would like change people's reaction to certain situations, I can't say that that's bad either.
And it's gonna have to be a balance of a couple things. It ain't gonna be just one thing that fixed this issue. Like,
right.
Because if it was that easy, it would be fixed.
I disagree with that too.
Tell me what.
I disagree with that too, because some stuff is just financially. Oh, I remember what the point I was gonna make. If in the audience, they can correct me if I'm wrong or leave it in the comments, right? When somebody is found guilty on unjustly killing a man, that person isn't affected. The city pays it, right? So now the police department still is not being affected by what happened. Like, they're not even affected by it. Okay. If I'm wrong, y'all tell me I'm wrong, but that's, you know, I'm a social media expert.
I would have to look it up.
You know what I'm saying? That's the information that I've been privy to, is that a situation like that, the city's paying for the issue. Or maybe it was me watching TV or something. Like, I just seen.
It could be in Texas.
You know what I'm saying? Like, when stuff is affected by the police, the city pays it. So you're not even affected by it. So you get to get your pension for you doing something wrong. You got off on it, and you still got paid.
Well,
ultimately we paid.
Yeah, ultimately. Yeah.
Well,
the people pay the consequence, especially.
Yeah. So now you telling me that I got to pay for you unjustly killing my own kind or something?
Yeah.
And see, that's one of those situations where
that's crazy.
I think there's some effective ways that it would. But as far as just the broad topic of just defunding, a lot of people, I'm glad Dre said what he said, because I kind of had an open mind to that aspect and knowing like that that's the case, but that's just not what's going around. The mass majority of people are seeing defund the police as just take the money away. Period. Point blank.
That alone, no. It needs to be money being taken away that actually affects
Something.
that person or affects that you know what I'm saying, that situation or group of people, whatever, however you want to look at it or what situation we're talking about. But you just no, like you can't.
You know,
no.
I want to intervene. I think that going off a definition for defunding and we're looking at monetary, I think it's useless. And the reason why is because so personally, because I'm kind of mixed. Like I understand, I'm a little on your side. I'm a whole lot on where we are, but I'm still like 60-40.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I get everything that you're saying, but if you're going by the definition, by the monetary, I am wavered simply because I feel like we need to just redo policing structure, period. The police structure. I mean,
are you trying to make it softer?
No. We need to.
It just needed to be changed because of what it was founded on in the first place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Policing was like it's just a policy enforcer, and they were put around as slave catchers initially. That's where that came from, anyways.
Shit, now you're going way.
You know what I'm saying? So it needs to be redone anyways because that's the very root of what it was here for,
And it's the
and
exact
it
same
hasn't
concept.
changed.
So
They
would
take you
you?
to
So
jail,
would you?
they
So
take
do
away
you?
your rights.
So do you think today's training is still tailored off of that? Off of that premise?
I don't know today's training.
Because if that's the case, do you think that people of certain races would even be on the police force?
I don't think that racism would affect the concept because right now people getting paid. We living in a free world, but that don't mean that everything free. We're not supposed to be racist, but that don't mean it ain't racist. Even the discriminatory stuff, you know, even when you going in and you applying for jobs and stuff like that, you know, when you know it'll tell you can't discriminate, but they can still discriminate. It ain't no. This is just a rule to help you not get in trouble
And you
for
gotta
it.
understand
You know what I'm saying?
it's baked into it.
How?
Like you gotta understand it's baked into it because not only is it the undertone of it might not be inherently, of course, but the undertone of it and where it came from, and then there's books where people actually plan this out, where we're gonna put people in certain positions so to keep the control.
Right.
And if that plan worked, we don't know if that worked or not. What if they really got people in it, and then they just generation after generation is sitting there? You know what I'm saying? In that way, they could easily be infiltrated up in there, still perpetuating racism. You know what I'm saying? Like
I think
who
Well,
else
he
used to,
he
you know who
tapped
used to
in a
preach
lot,
about
like-
that the most? The one that everybody think was radical the most. They said Martin Luther King, and then there was Malcolm X. Malcolm X used to preach that because he read the teaching.
Yeah.
He was out there reading what they was putting out and the plans of what they was doing. Then he come back and talk to his people. That's why they had to kill him. Wait, you know what? Let me pull back. Let me pull back. My bad.
It's good.
Yeah, we know. We already know.
you're gonna have to revisit that one.
Now, see, I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it hanging. But I do feel like, you know, overall, I do feel like we as black people, because of the position that we are in America, need the concept of policing more than anything. So, you know, I don't agree in fully defunding, and just because, again, I mean, if you look at it how we saying defunding, a lot of them gonna quit. I was just watching an article where I can't remember what state it was in, but they started retiring like half their police force, like 30% of the police force quit, retired. You know, I think I even be hearing on Facebook about how we short police in Shreveport or something like that, man, because people don't want to do it no more.
What were they used for before that anyway?
Well, I can't say all that, but I will say, you know, I don't think one of the reasons I also don't think, because I pay taxes on my bills, and police, they don't get no tax money. They really ain't getting paid that no way.
Yeah.
To give it 100. I can't speak for like detectives and all them that make, you know, but on the general force, like, I mean, as far as taxpayers, like 0.35% of your dollar, so 3.5 cents to every dollar that you making is what they getting paid. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, you know, but you know, you got like 10% to go to the school board, another like 4% go to you know, God.
So now you tell me that's a job that, I I mean, if it's based off of the finances or the income that you make, that's an even bigger issue because you're supposed to be protecting the servant. So your pay shouldn't really
matter.
It
shouldn't matter.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Because you're doing it for a
which
different.
is why I think that defund, which is one of the reasons I'm 60% defunding ain't really gonna do nothing. You already ain't getting paid. I mean, you ain't gonna do nothing but make more people quit, which leave a lot of people vulnerable and angry.
So now you leaving. So now you leaving because it's defunded. Then you went there for the real reason, anyways.
Exactly.
And that's why I always.
So did you just go 70-30? You just went 70-30?
Yeah, because he did.
Kind of. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you got a point. You got a point. That's why I said. That's why at the beginning I was saying I don't know. You know, I mean, I'm torn. Like a lot of times, depending on what aspect you're looking at it. I mean, I don't really feel like there's a real way to fix the problem because it all lies in character.
I'm gonna say this.
100%.
I don't see security forces just killing black folks.
But we go by a different set of rules.
We do.
You can't.
Exactly. So we can restructure what.
Okay.
It can be restructured.
It can.
I'm telling you,
but that doesn't mean people are going to abide by it being restructured.
When you have
we are incentivized to follow rules.
Right. Why
so
can't
we just go 80-20? No, but
right.
like for us, like it's more like you're being incentivized for doing the right thing.
Right, but I think that can be incorporated. Is what I'm saying.
Okay, I agree
with restructuring. Going back to the restructuring aspect, because the way it is right now, like. Nah, it ain't. What we need out of it is not getting done.
Mm-hmm.
It's not getting done. Something needs to change with defunding, whether it's restructuring, whether it's reallocating funds, different places. Whatever the answer is, something needs to change.
Right.
I just brought up that kind of jokingly, but seriously too. Though, like you don't see security forces making these mistakes. And the main thing you said is like for one, the training more than likely, but then two, like just the structure of how it is and how everything works.
Like rules of engagement.
Yeah. You're not crossing those lines.
Like that. Right. I've had that thought process too, but I also understand that we live by a different set of rules and we encounter different situations.
Right.
I'm not
but what it puts in my head is impossible.
Right. And I agree with that.
And so,
I can't say I disagree with that. I agree with that.
That's just how I be feeling. Sometimes I think about it, like, man, I don't see sick folks just throwing people on the ground, beating them up, beating their face in and just shooting them.
So is it safe to say that you got two options that you could at least explore? You can defund the individual and then allocate those funds toward better training.
I don't think training got nothing to do with it.
I think training got a lot to do
Well,
with it.
I think training plays a part, but I mean, it just got to do with character and instinct and who you hire. I think we need more people in a position to hire and to judge, or better ways to judge the character of the people that we putting on board and that we trust in our lives and to enforce the policy.
I don't even know how to these people. I don't even know how to.
The same way you picking jury. I mean, you know, they ask jury before you put people on jury. You put 12 jurors on the stand and you ask them, you know, and this tie in with the case. You got 12 jurors on the stand. You ask them, you know, a series of questions to determine whether or not you think they fit. And I'm sure they do the same thing with cops, you know, and police and everything they doing. But I mean, we need more extensive. Like they need more. You know how we do that mental
psyche valve.
That psyche valve. They need. That's what they need to be putting their money into.
And that's why I keep referring.
Who they hire.
And that's why I keep referring to military stuff. And that's why I also say training plays a huge role because. You can really look at it the same way. Like people will say, people will probably take this and be like, "But y'all training to go to a war zone? What? Out here it's a war zone."
Yeah. I'm so glad you said that.
Out here it's a war zone, and they need to be prepared for that. And I'm a cyber transport technician, so I don't go through any of the trainings unless I have to deploy for a certain situation to be something outside of my deploy AFSC or something. But like. I've heard about or seen or I've heard about these trainings that some people have to go through for certain taskings, right? The police not doing that, but essentially they both going out and facing almost the same thing. Now, you can't say exactly the same thing, right? Because we dealing with bombs being dropped, you know, like militias, OPSEC is important, right? But not offset. I ain't here to talk about that. But but I should see it the same way. Like if we train in this way to go out there and take care of each other and take care of ourselves and truly serve and protect out there and can get it done and over here it's basically the same thing going on. It's just a war zone, racial group versus racial group, identity versus identity. You can just go down a list, but it's a whole bunch of diversity that's just causing psychological wars, physical wars, racial wars, identity wars. Man, it's the same thing, and they need to be prepared for what they need to face when they go into what they're going to face when they step into these situations. And their training ain't it's really not that extensive. To me.
Got it. I see what you're saying.
I'll have to see it. I have no idea what the training is. I have no idea what the hiring process is. I'm just strictly going off my opinion and what I think. You know what I'm saying? I'm just going off strictly with it. Because, I have family members that are on the force, and I've never even had that conversation with them to see how they feel about stuff like that. And truthfully, I don't feel like I want to have it. You know what I'm saying? I don't think I really want to have that conversation.
No.
So.
Well, man, I appreciate. I think we wrapping up, man, because you got to get out of here in just a second, man. So we're gonna get ready to wrap it up, y'all. We appreciate everybody tuning in, everybody listening. My boy Rui Cooper out here.
Yes, sir. I appreciate y'all having me.
We're not gonna close just yet, because before we close, we got a little game we're gonna play here.
Okay.
So what I'm saying, I got a couple questions. I'm gonna ask you, and I'm gonna ask Ro. We're gonna go back and forth.
Okay.
I ain't gonna answer the questions. I answer them on the next one.
All right.
But quick little question, so that it's one or the other. You gotta answer one. This game is called Would You Rather. So we gonna I'm gonna ask. Matter of fact, I do it like this. I'm gonna just ask both of y'all. You know what I'm saying? Yes or no. And then you can probably get like a 15-20 second reason why you chose your answer. So, let me. Who want to kick it off? You know, man.
We'll let them kick it off.
Wait, who we go? All right, so we're gonna start with you. All right. So, first question: would you rather be stranded in the woods or stuck in a mountain for 72 hours?
Stranded in the woods.
Why?
You can make a way of life out there.
Okay. Good answer. What about
I
you,
don't
my
even
man?
need 15 seconds. I agree.
Would you rather be stranded in the woods or stuck in the mountains for 72 hours?
It's definitely the woods.
Definitely
because
the woods.
like you said, I can create a life out there. Sticks, stones, all that good stuff, wild animals. If I feel like I'm in the mountains,
Gotcha.
it's just me.
Okay.
And it's cold.
All right.
You lost me when it was cold.
Okay, so back to you, Ro.
All right.
Pam or Gina?
Gina.
Why Gina? Look at Roy
Man,
face.
the
He like,
energy.
say, huh?
The energy.
The energy.
The energy.
What about you?
But I mean, that's a character, of course, right?
Yeah.
So it's staged, right?
No, we talking about the character. I'm gonna have to go 50-50 now.
Oh,
No,
ain't
it's either or.
Look. Just come on, man.
Okay,
you gotta pick one or the other, man.
my
You can't
bad.
have both.
Okay,
Can't have your
my
cake and
bad.
eat it too.
My bad. You right. You can't. I'm gonna have to go Gina too.
That's what Gina too.
I would rather go Pam because I really like how Pam looked more than Gina. That's just my personal preference. But if we're going off the character themselves,
Yeah.
Gina was very supportive to what Martin was doing, and they really worked on their relationship. Pam was more of like
Real
that
talk.
friend, like I really want you to leave.
That's more than 15 seconds.
My bad.
You going deep. Hey,
My
look,
bad.
I could have went above the surface too now.
I'm sorry.
Hey,
Let
look at
me
that.
reel it back in.
So
We're
we're gonna reel it back in with you then. So,
Okay.
would you rather go to the past to meet your ancestors, or go to the future and meet your legacy?
I'm gonna have to go past.
Go to the past.
Yeah, I've had to go back to the past to meet my ancestors.
Okay.
Because I feel like there's a lot of knowledge that's been lost as time has went on.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if I get that information, it would help me build a legacy.
Okay.
And make it even better than what it could have been or what I already made it to be.
15. Go.
That's literally what I was gonna say. I was gonna say I'll do past so that I can learn more about who I am and build that legacy. Like that's literally exactly what I was gonna say.
Dang, give me 15 seconds. I want to answer this. I said I want to go to the future and meet my legacy.
Okay. Why?
I did because we had this discussion before, and I'm not gonna be too long, but we had this topic, and I tell y'all all the time I want to go to the past. I do want to go to the past right now and meet my ancestors, but if I was actually given the option, I would go to the future simply because of, I know I can try to go back to the past right now and try to figure all that out, but I know that I'm probably never gonna actually figure it out in its entirety.
Mm-hmm.
But I can start something new now, and I can set the foundation, which is what we building. I can set that foundation and go into the future and see where my son and my kids and my daughter them left off and what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Because of technology, especially, I think that the message and the root and the foundation can always be traced back, because now we record everything. So our kids in 20 and 300-400 years from now, they can be able to see us on technology and where their family started. They can trace back to us. So I want to be the pinpoint. I mean, I created that question, so but I wanted to pinpoint that because I figure a lot of people go, to their past.
Yeah.
So,
That's a dope perspective.
It is a dope perspective, but
I just feel like it'll cause me
we
to.
can't discuss. We can't discuss any further. Everybody, we gotta go to the next question. We're running out of time. We'll say that though. We'll bring it back up. So, next question with you, Ro. Would you rather? This actually came from Facebook. So, would you rather $20,000 once a year or $100 a day? Now, listen to it again, because it came from Facebook, but we switched it up. Would you rather $20,000 once a year or $100 a day?
$100 a day is only $3,650. Why would I take that a year? What I can get? I'm thinking of in a salary sense.
Gotcha.
I'm taking the $20,000 a year. Once a year.
Absolutely.
I remember this question actually, but it is different. I can't remember what's different because I remember commenting and I was like, y'all didn't catch this, but it ain't in this question right now.
Here's my take on it, right? And I look at it from, I got
15 seconds.
I got 15 seconds. All right. So I'm going to take the 20,000, obviously, right? Because the amount is more. But I was looking at it from a perspective of, I don't know if I'm going to be here tomorrow.
Got it.
So telling me to take some money that's, what I'm saying, down the road and stuff like that. Nah, just give me what you're gonna give me now.
But we don't know when you're gonna get your direct deposit. We ain't say all that.
That's true too. We can't debate it though, so I'm gonna leave it with that. Give me the 20.
We can't debate it though. Give me the 20.
Man. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Appreciate it for coming out, man. Make sure y'all definitely check us out on Instagram. I'm Sir Pat on the Custom Made Screen Printing. Follow me at Custom Made Printing.
ENG by Suave.
You can catch me at _BRAGGIN Rights Camp with the K.
Yes, sir.
And that's on IG.
Most def. Make sure y'all tune in. Stick with us at 1424. One thing's for sure, two things for certain. Holla back at us only on Tuesdays. We'll catch y'all next week. Peace.
Like, comment,
Yes,
subscribe.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Like,
Hit
comment,
that big thumbs up.
subscribe.